Hi, my name is Rebecca Hirsch. This is lab video presentation number 6, the digestive system, due on October 19th, 2020 for Anatomy and Physiology 2 with lab. As always, I have my talking points for what we're going to be going over in this lab. We're going to be going over the location and name of the organs in the digestive system. And lastly, we're going to be following it up with a common digestive system disease, which is gastrointestinal reflux, also known as GERD. So we're going to jump in right now talking about the primary and accessory organs of the digestive system right here. We're going to be starting off with a secondary organ, which is the mouth, the teeth, and the tongue. We also have the salivary glands, the pharynx, and the epiglottis right here. This is a primary organ, which is the esophagus, which from the mouth travels down the esophagus. We then have the liver, which is a secondary organ. We have the stomach, which is a primary organ. We have the gallbladder, secondary. We have the pancreas, secondary. We have the small intestines, which is a primary. We have the large intestines, which is a primary. We have the rectum, a primary, and then the anus, which is a secondary organ in the digestive process. Next, I want to be talking to you about what each of these primary organs does in regards to the digestive system. The mouth is the beginning of the digestive process, where the food begins to be chewed with the assistance of the tongue and the teeth. The salivary glands produce saliva or digestive juices, which moisten the food, which helps it more easily move through the esophagus and into the stomach. Saliva is also an enzyme that helps to break down the starches within the food itself. Next is the esophagus. The esophagus is a tube which contracts and connects the throat to the stomach. The epiglottis is a small flap that folds and opens and closes in your windpipe to help prevent you from choking and also help you to swallow. That's when it's activated, is when you're swallowing. Food then travels from the esophagus through a series of muscles called the peristalsis, which then contracts to help food move from your esophagus downwards into your stomach. Now I want to talk to you about the stomach. The stomach is a hollow organ or a container that holds the food while it's being mixed with stomach enzymes. These enzymes continue the process of food breakdown, and it helps move the food from a solid into a form that is able to be digested and used at a cellular level. The cells in the lining of the stomach secrete a strong acid and powerful enzymes that are responsible for that breakdown process. When the stomach finishes digesting and breaking down that food, it is then released into the small intestines. The small intestines are a 22-foot long muscular tube that break down food using enzymes that are released from the pancreas and bile from the liver. Peristalsis also work within this organ, which moves the food and mixes it with the digestive juices from the pancreas and the liver. The large intestine, also known as the colon, is a 6-foot long muscular tube that connects the small intestines to the rectum. Waste or stool passes through the colon, and water is then removed from the food in preparation to exit the body through the rectum and then the anus. And it normally takes about 36 hours for food or stool to pass through the colon. Lastly, for the primary organs is the rectum. It is a straight 8-inch chamber that connects the colon to the anus. And the rectum's job is simply to receive stool from the colon, and then it holds its contents, which is either stool or gas, until the brain sends a signal for the sphincter to open, and then the rectum relaxes, releasing its waste into the anus to exit the body. So now that we've talked about the primary organs, I want to talk to you a little bit about the phases of digestion. There are 6 different phases, which include ingestion, mechanical or physical digestion, propulsion, chemical digestion, absorption, and then defecation. So first is ingestion, and that is done by the mouth, and it's powered by the tongue and the teeth with the help of saliva that's made from the saliva glands. There are 3 different types of saliva that are secreted for that process. The second is the mechanical or physical digestion, and that's a combination of physical digestion, which happens when you chew, and then also chemical digestion, which is the mixture of food with saliva. The third is chemical digestion, which starts in the mouth, as we just talked about, and it continues into the stomach through the mixture of food with water and various enzymes, acids, and then also salt mixtures as they come together. During chemical digestion, solid compounds, such as food, are broken down to their base components, which is what cells can use for food. And an example of this is protein being transferred into amino acids. Fourth is absorption. Once food is broken down into those base components, it travels into the small intestines where it is absorbed into the bloodstream and then transfers to all of the cells in the body as nutrients to be used as energy. The sixth and final phase is defecation, which is any food that is not nutrient rich is waste and then moves into the large intestines or colon as fecal matter and is pushed out into the rectum and anus. And that concludes the digestive process. Lastly, I want to talk about a common disease that affects the digestive system, which is gastrointestinal reflux disease, also known as GERD. GERD is a digestive disorder that occurs when acidic stomach juices or food fluid is backed up in the stomach and is then released into the esophagus. So here is normal anatomy where the stomach juices and food are in the stomach and does not proceed into the esophagus. With GERD, it does. And this actually happens to all people of all ages. People with asthma are at higher risk for GERD, but everyone at some point in their life has experienced it, whether it's they burp and they taste the food or an acidic feel, or they have heartburn. That's all symptoms of GERD. So other symptoms of GERD are acid regurgitation, that's that burning sensation, difficulty or pain when swallowing, sudden excess of saliva in your mouth, chronic sore throat, laryngitis or hoarseness when you're speaking, inflammation of your gums, cavities and bad breath, and then lastly, even chest pain can be a symptom of GERD. When you have chronic GERD, you have chronic inflammation of your esophagus, and that can lead to a narrowing of your esophagus, open sores in your esophagus, and even precancerous changes to your esophagus. So I hope you enjoyed my video presentation, and I will see you next week.